Guys, we should probably mention AP led with a story a few moments ago that Bernie Madoff had died in a federal prison. AP cited sources that he died from natural causes that CNBC has now confirmed. Jim just gives us a moment here to reflect on not just the Ponzi scheme that he orchestrated and the incredible losses that he created for his victims, but the black eye that he gave financial services for a very long time.
Yeah, I remember those days. I remember when I first discovered it, it was just shocking because he had I don't want to say he had a great reputation, but I know there were a lot of people who were with him. Why? Because the returns were so incredibly good and seemed a little bit out of whack with what you could get. David, I remember when J.P. Morgan tried to calculate whether you could actually earn what he did, and they couldn't get to that. The fallout, David, was really remarkable, and you started thinking, who do you trust? Don't you think?
Yeah, and it came, of course. Remember, it was December of 2008, right? It was so we were in the midst of the financial crisis already, and it was yet just another blow. And of course, let's not forget, it created tragic circumstances for countless people in terms of their finances who had invested with him for years, and the ramifications went on. The waves of what it caused were very significant for many people in their lives, Carl. Not a lot of love lost, as you might imagine, for Mr. Madoff. A tragic story for so many who suffered as a result of his actions. Dead at the age of 82.
I don't know.
Yeah, Jim,
what happened, David, is that there was nobody else. He was isolated.
Yeah. I mean, what's interesting, right, Carl, is I still hear stories about people who, I heard one last night. I don't think I can share it fully, but the people who are trying to replicate his strategy, who left the business in part because there was this guy down the street who had some option strategy, and I just can't beat him. I don't know why, so I'm out of here.
Right.
That story has been told many times, and of course, the inability to see what was right in front of many people in terms of his Ponzi scheme and or his fraud. Remember the scheme, it went on for years, but it was only towards the end as a result of losses suffered in the financial crisis, his inability to bring in new money to continue to pay out people is what finally brought it down. But as we all know, it went on for so many years, and it's still a staggering story to revisit. And, of course, there are still many people who are suffering from having lost everything as a result of Mr. Madoff's deceit.
Yeah, David, it's hard to fathom the greed and the ability to discount the suffering that he probably knew was coming one day, that this was not going to be sustainable over the long term. Jim, I remember the morning where the news of his arrest broke, and immediately we were flooded on Squawk with comments from people, as you mentioned, saying, I knew it because there was no way that the consistency of those returns could have been real.
Yeah, I know when J.P. Morgan calculated it was just, well, look, guys, it's too good to be true. But there are people who are always so hopeful. There are people who always just say, you know what, no, I'm with a genius. This guy is a legitimate genius. He's been a genius. You get these steady returns because he has a method that we don't understand. David, you mentioned with options. We don't understand it, but he's a genius. Remember, how many times did you hear that this man was an unbelievable investor? And David, it did. You're absolutely right. There was a lot of people saying, look, I can't do it. There was a lot of schadenfreude, of course, when he was caught.
Yeah. People would borrow to put money in. To his fund, being able to get access. Remember how we would keep it so exclusive. He was the ultimate. We call it a Ponzi scheme, but really it should have been renamed after Madoff because he was the ultimate.
You're absolutely right.
He was the ultimate scheme. And it was, again, I can remember those early days of understanding or trying to get our hands around what was going on in terms of the fraud itself. And having, frankly, Jim, known of this firm, but it had no real profile in the markets. And so it was not, I'd never dealt with him, never spoken to him, actually, which I always found a bit odd given, his prominence in some way, and yet still underestimated the size of the fund. Remember when we suddenly started to learn, and there were the fund of funds that basically were just feeders for him? But do you remember how stunned we all were when wait a second, I thought there was a $5 billion fund. Wait, what? 2030. How big is this thing?
David, I knew probably 10 people in it. And some of them have been saying, look, it's too good to be true, but I got to take something off the table. But the people I knew mostly were saying, hey, look, everyone else is an idiot. This guy has the magic touch. Or now, David, they would say the diamond hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the diamond hands. Yeah.
I do. Diamond hands.
Yeah, diamond hands.
Give her the program, David.
Sorry. I'm mentally quarantined right now. So.
But you're right. Ponzi had nothing on Madoff.
No.
From now on, it's Madoff scheme. No?
Nothing.
No?
No. It's a Madoff.
YOLO?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. It's a Madoff.
Yeah. Carl, both his sons, of course, have passed away as well. I believe his wife is still alive. Back to you.
Yeah. No, it's an American tragedy all the way around.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.